All right, everyone. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. We are live again. Hey, we got a special video today. This is an interview that when Ye, Nick Fuentes, and Gavin Mcinnes sat down together to discuss a few things that were going on at that time. This video or interview is from 3 years ago, actually. And I wanted to watch it again. I watched it maybe, a couple years ago. I wanted to go back to it and watch it. To see if anything's changed, if any truths have been revealed. You know how sometimes you can go back and look at things in hindsight and say, "Oh wow, that came to pass," or "Oh wow, he was right about that." So I want to just watch the video and see if there was anything in there that was said that we had better understanding in hindsight. So this video, I had to go on Rumble to find it. It's very hard to find. So hey, if you're on my channel, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. I am highly censored, highly shadow banned. So if you found this channel some kind of way, you are special. So we're gonna get straight to it. This is on Rumble, like I said. So there's gonna be some ads pop up, and I'll skip those ads as we watch this interview. With that being said, let's go.
Look how sexy that woman is with her hair up at the bar. She's so sexy though, she might be nuts. She has this like vibe. Welcome to the first episode of Saving Ye, where I am going to prevent Ye West from becoming an anti-Semite or a Nazi. I'm going to talk him off the ledge and bring him back to the understanding that our problem is liberal elites of all races. Kamala Harris is a major problem. Barack Obama is what started this whole mess, I would argue. We weren't really into racism before he came along. So I want to go over there and say anti-Semitic.
He says Barack Obama is behind this whole mess. He thinks this thing started with Barack Obama. This guy right here is not very bright, y'all. And I think he's an operator. Don't get it twisted. I think Gavin Mcinnes is an operator. He was the founder of Proud Boys. And that was, some kind of way he escaped. I think he relinquished his title or some kind of way he escaped the whole January 6th madness and setup that was. But a lot of these guys are just pure operators. All right, here we go.
Anti-Semitism is a rut. Yes, they're overrepresented in media. They're overrepresented in banking. And
I got a groper in the house, man. Hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe, bro. You know what I mean? You're going to get a different point of view to know. All right, let's get it.
Obviously, Hollywood. No one denies that. But to sort of focus on this militia intent is a rut. It's the same when black people are like, fucking whites ruined everything. I could never be successful because white people will be racist. That's an intellectual divot. It's an intellectual ditch. So I'm going to try to pull him out of the ditch and say, let's focus on the elites, on the Bill Gates, on the Kamala Harris, on the Barack Obama, and not go down the Jew road because it's a dead end. Let's hope it works.
Hey, you heard about?
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna mute that because I'm gonna mute this part right here because they're gonna copyright me if I let this Ye song play. So let me lower that volume real quick and we'll keep going. Here we go, guys. I definitely don't want to get this thing copyrighted.
Rolling up to the interview with Ye, we've got a secured location.
I'm not nervous because I just had a Bloody Mary.
Thank you for that like button, man.
I'm going to
Hope
try
you
to sell
subscribe as
him
well.
the Jews. Let's say, come on. JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citibank, all run by Irishmen. Yeah, Goldman Sachs is run by a Jew, but, JP Morgan Chase is run by a Greek. And yes, they are disproportionately representing these groups.
And you're right about that, right? But see, here's Gavin's things, right? He's into the whiteness. And I'm not saying, we have to, blackness and whiteness, all these concepts. That's why I think he has such an affinity towards the Jewish people, because in his mind, these Jewish people have to be something special because he has totally wrapped his identity and mindset around that. You see what I'm saying? So he's gonna make every excuse in the world. Unlike a guy like Nick Fuentes. All right, here we go. I'm gonna let it play out.
I've already talked about it a million times. I'm just sort of going over it in my head, but they're a tenacious bunch. They are successful whites. I think Jews are doing well because they're just whites that don't drink. If I didn't drink, I'd be president by now. So
See, exactly
my
what I
goal
said.
here is just to get him out of what I fear, he's in, which is the rut of anti-Semitism, where if it rains on your birthday, it's the Jews. You know, we see this with blacks in the hood going, whites are preventing me from doing anything. I could go to school and get a PhD in accounting. I'd never have a job because of racism. So it's a crippling mentality. And it's not intellectually adventurous to have a blame group.
We were all brainwashed, homeboy. You know, and there's still some brainwash in to be honest, I consider myself to be very enlightened, but I'm probably brainwashed on some things too, unknowingly still. There's so many lies and so much deception out here that even when you think you found the truth, there's another lie. So yeah.
And Jews have done a lot of good things for all movements, including like racial realism.
Look at this guy, man.
Anyway, it's a tall
Idiot.
order, and he might shut me down, but you gotta try, right? You gotta try.
Let's get to the interview. All right, here we go.
All right, shall we start?
I think we shall.
Yay! Nick, we're here. So this is Saturday afternoon, 2 days after the InfoWars interview, and I was just telling you before we started filming that we were watching it at home, and
Hit that
Ryan and
like
I
button
were just
for a
looking at each
brother.
other. About every 20 minutes, we'd look at each other and just go, like, this is a big deal. This was an event. And I think that there's a spectrum of reactions, of course, and the biggest reaction, the most positive one, is it's the craziest, most punk rock thing since the Sex Pistols got kicked off the Bill Grundy show. But on the other end of the spectrum, people are saying this is bad for a presidential campaign, to say the least. Where do you stand on that spectrum?
I think it's awesome for a presidential campaign
Yeah?
to have someone that's honest, that understands the state of the world, and that's ready to listen to what the American people need.
But Hitler's got a pretty bad reputation.
Well, who made that reputation? That was made by Jewish people.
Well, the murdering Jews was a pretty big part of his bad reputation.
Yeah, but some of it's incorrect. Also, the Holocaust is not the only Holocaust. So
Okay.
for them to take that and claim, we have abortion right now. That's eugenics. That's genocide. That's a Holocaust that we're dealing with right now. So because Jewish people control the majority of the media, along with banks, along with real estate, along with
Fair use. This is for educational purposes. I am allowed to, as a American, as a Christian, to view this on YouTube and give my take. And I'm allowed to have viewers, whether there's 1 million people in here viewing it with me or just 3 or 4. We're able to do this, YouTube. So fair use, educational purposes. Let's be adults. Let's go.
malls. They can control the narrative. Like, history is written by the winners. They were upset that Hitler was kicking them out of the country. By the time, the Holocaust, there's only 250,000 Jews left.
Well, really diving into it here.
Let's get into real information at this point. What did they think were going to happen? Matter of fact, it's like, I think the Jews are like really, I think the Jewish like
You're right about that.
Assad and Rahm Emanuel and Bibi Netanyahu and all of them, I think they really got soft out here. Like, I'm getting to walk around and say the truth out loud. Oh no, they got him dropping headphones over here. But yeah, Jesus is king. Really, I just lean into what Christ needs me to do, and I'm 1,000% faithful as I can be as a man, and I repent for the things where I fall short. But the only way for us to bring America back to where it needs to be, this is a Christian country, and it needs to be ran by Christian leaders that don't bow to Jared Kushner, that don't bow to Rahm Emanuel. You already know DeSantis is a fake conservative. We don't even know who the Democrats are going to.
Remember DeSantis? They were trying to feed us DeSantis back around this time frame. Where'd that turn out? If you couldn't see that he was a shill back then, man, all these guys are shills. That's the crazy thing about it. Even Trump. And the whole comment about this place needs to be ran by Christians, it does. And these people don't have the love for Christ like that. And that's a little bit concerning, to say the least.
Put up. And yeah, that's my answer to that.
Okay, here, I'm going to have an intervention here for you and Nick, and let me just make a case. Yes, there are almost 80 to 90% of Hollywood is Jewish, probably more. Media, yeah, I'm going to say like 80% of media is Jewish, but I see the Jews we're talking about in these cases as liberal elites, high IQ people, whites, and when you have, like, they're disproportionately represented in medicine too, because they have high IQs.
Think about the things he's bigging them up for. He says they have a high IQs. He talks about, he brings up medicine. What the hell is so good about the medicine and about the medical industry right now? What is he talking about? You know, the last thing I would want to be in this society when God comes back is the one with the high IQ. The high IQs are fucking everything up, if y'all haven't noticed. I don't know why. Y'all have to really look at things with a different mindset. You got to flip everything on its head. If they're saying high IQ, look at the world we live in. It's ran by the high IQs. So give me a low IQ. I love being a low IQ black man. Okay? Because when God returns, when Jesus returns, he's going to look around and say, who's been running this shit show? And all the high IQs are going to raise their hands and yeah. So keep your damn high IQs. For him to lean on that like that's some kind of honorable, godly damn quality to have some kind of high IQ, some test that was engineered by demons, okay, to determine some kind of way your value. This guy's a damn goon, man. All right, let's go.
So the problem isn't these Jews, and most of them are secular Jews, atheists. I don't see Soros as Jewish. So we have these secular,
Facts, bro.
mostly atheist Jewish people with high IQs who dominate fields that tend to require high IQs. They're overrepresented in chess and mathematics too. So the real issue here, and there is an ethnomasochism, there is some sort of like, let's burn it to the ground. But I think that trait is a white trait, a liberal elite white trait. Oh, not even white per se, a liberal elite trait. Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, they also have these traits. And there's some sort of like lemming DNA in white people where when they reach a certain amount of success, they just want to take it off a cliff. And I don't like.
And let me say this real quick, just for people who might be new to me and new to what I'm about. I love every soul created, okay? But at the same time, I'm able to look at things and discern what's good and what's evil, okay? And I am of the persuasion that not everyone should have influence, okay? I'm not here to get rid of anyone, but I don't think that everyone has the right to influence the world. I just don't believe that, all right?
When Jews get pulled into that, because when I think of my Orthodox Jewish friends and even my Hasidic friends.
I think Obama was the worst thing because he was, quote unquote, conceived or perceived, I should say, to be a black man. Obama was dangerous. He was dangerous to the quote unquote black community. All right. And see, this whole idea of white and black. See, Gavin Mcinnes is lumping Jewish people into this whiteness. And you'll see a lot of black people that will consider Jewish people white. They're not white. There is no white and there is no black. There's bloodlines and nations of people. Okay. I'm a quote unquote black America. I'm not Kenyan. Okay. I'm not a Sudanese. I'm not a Somalian. I'm not an Ethiopian. Yeah, we have dark skin, but we're not the same people. So this concept of black and white, it seems to be a concept that was born in America for the purpose of causing confusion and chaos. Do you know how many different quote unquote white people groups there are? The Germanic people are not the same as the Anglo-Saxons, the quote unquote Anglo-Saxons. Am I right or wrong about that? You have Slavics. Okay, yeah, they have a fair skin, but they're not the same peoples. And when you can have a concept in this world where you have a group of people called white and a group of people called black, but then here on this outside, you have people called Jewish. They have their own special category to get to be Jewish, and everybody else is just black or white. That's the game right there, y'all. It's a game. It's a hustle. You get to be a people, but I'm just a category of black, and he's a category of white. And here we are fighting against each other over lies. So I'm glad that Gavin Mcinnes' influence has, because for a while there, man, this guy was all over the place. This Gavin Mcinnes guy. He was all over the place.
These people are conservative, Trump supporting, American patriots. And the Jews that are getting lumped in with this sort of ethnomasochistic cultural suicide tend not really to be Jewish. I call them ginos, Jews in name only. It's liberal elite whites you should have a beef with.
Yeah, but I lump them all in together. That's what I did. That's
good.
That's why the tweet said that, Jewish people.
Okay. But this trait, blacks are overrepresented in violent crime. But when you meet an individual black person, you don't apply that. You start with a fresh slate every time you meet someone. Do you do that with Jews?
Nope.
See, I like the fact that Gavin brought up the whole idea of blacks being overrepresented in crime. We suffering. Black, quote unquote, black Americans suffer because of that. And B, why do you know that? Why do you know that blacks are overrepresented in crime? Why is that so widely known? See, here's the thing you have to realize. Like I said, you got to take everything and flip it on its head, guys. All right? The people that are known for being criminals, fairly or unfairly, whatever you want to call it, right? The whole idea of black crime, I get it. All right, I'm not blind. I see the images, okay? Would you be more afraid of something like that or the one who comes across as squeaky clean saying they're the people of God? Who's the more danger? The one who has a squeaky clean image. Oh, high IQ. Oh, Nobel Peace Prize. But then they created a nuke. They were behind the slave trade. All the lies, all the deception. Okay? I have a concept where black people, black Americans are probably some of the most honest people on earth. Because when we're fucked up, everyone knows we're fucked up. We can't hide it. We're fucked up. You can see it on our faces. You can smell it on us. We're fucked up, and it's out in the open because we're honest. That's why we have this snitch culture where you better not snitch. Why do you think black people get accused of snitching? Because we can't help it. Oh, fucking he did it. We want to tell on everything. So I look at that as almost a good thing. I'm glad that our sins are shown to the world. Okay? But when you're able to hide your sins, you think you're getting away with something and you do more destruction that way. So that's how I see it. All right, here we go.
This intervention isn't going very well. I mean, when I talk to Ron, I've noticed that Jews are a tenacious bunch and they're great for every movement, especially the conservative movement. Who's helping me sue the SPLC? Ron Coleman. Who's helping me sue Rutherford for shutting down my talk or Penn State for shutting down my talk? John Gross, Rabbi John Gross. I don't know, they tend to get the system, and maybe it's because they've been ostracized from.
I can tell you that I was not going to, and I will not be voting to reject the electorate. And that vote may well sign my political death warrant. But so
in the system for so long, they're good at hustling.
They complicated the system. They put it in Yiddish.
Now, hey, man, welcome to the channel there, Cullen, whatever the hell your name is there. If you think that's a slight on me, I promise it's not, brother. I love it. I'm a free speech advocate. Speak your mind, speak your heart, speak what God give you to speak, bro. I'm not going to try to block you. You can call me names, say this and that and the third. I love it. Please, just be here. Get it out. Get it out, okay? I'm like, hey, all white guys should be Chud the Builder type. Get it out. If you want to call someone in, say it. Get it all out. And that way we can kind of get to a place where we can all move forward. You got to give your opinion first before we can get to the facts and get to the truth. So I love it. I love the interaction. I love the comments, brother. Keep it coming.
Every business needs a hipster, a hacker, and a hustler. We're good hipsters in that we're creative. The hackers and the hustlers, that's like the
about
tech
the
guys.
SPLC.
Asians tend to
Absolutely.
dominate the hacker part, the tech part. Hustlers, salesmen, guys who can set it up, they tend to be Jewish and they would be an integral part of your campaign.
See, stereotypes exist for a reason.
Sure, I'm fine with stereotypes.
I'm sure we'll get a lot of Jew votes, but the only thing about there is it's actually not a lot of Jew votes because there's actually not a lot of Jews in
True.
America. You know, there's 5 million Jews in America. We have, you know, if you include the illegal aliens, there's 400 million Americans. There's how many potential voters are there in America? 300 million potential voters.
Damn. I didn't realize that Ye called them people illegal. See, Ye, I love Ye. He speak the truth. He didn't call them undocumented. He called them illegals. Talk that talk, Ye.
260 million.
Sure, right.
Yeah, 260 million voters, but yet the Jewish people run America. And also, they got China scared, and I don't think that they run. I don't feel like they run Russia, but everywhere else, they're all in South Africa
Most of the
now.
oligarchs are Jewish, aren't they, in Russia?
Looking back, do y'all think Ye was correct on that? Do you think they run Russia? That's an interesting take right there. I don't know. I heard that Putin was pretty orthodoxed up over there. I don't know about that. That's an interesting take.
Okay, well they run that too. But Christ runs the world. Jesus Christ is king. And
Hey, my channel is heavily censored. If you're on this channel and you found it, thank goodness for that. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you subscribe. Let's go.
there's a power structure. I talked about it on Alex Jones, where it's the old families, and these aren't Jewish guys. It's like Italian, like Medici, that territory. Then it goes to Vatican, which is the blood of Peter and not Paul. And Peter denounced Jesus. And then you go to BlackRock and Vanguard. You go to the financial groups, and then beneath that you have governments. You have the world leaders, so to say. Then you go to Hollywood, where Ari Emanuel is getting too much credit because even though his UFC fighters couldn't make him any money until they got on YouTube, he's still considered this like champion Hollywood guy because he's the one that wrote the open letter after he had the humiliation ceremony with Elon Musk. And that's the reason why I said that, remember, this is my last tweet. It wasn't about Elon being overweight. It's the fact that Ari Emanuel was hosing down our favorite Iron Man, Elon Musk. And I said, bro, you know, what is the point of having all of that, you know, money and all of that intelligence to go in and you buy Twitter? And they're like, we're going to bet.
Did y'all hear who Ye said, how the power structure works? I want y'all to sit back with that. Maybe, you know, go back and pay attention to that. I want to talk about that for a moment. He says you have 1,000-year-old families. Now, just think about that concept of 1,000-year-old family. Imagine if you could trace back your family lineage 1,000 years, meaning that you knew your your grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grand, and you can go back 1,000 years with all that documented, all that information. Imagine the level of, I don't want to maybe use the word power, but just the advantage you would have over the majority of the population. How many of us can go back 1,000 years? So he's saying that that's the top, which makes perfect sense. If you can go back 1,000 years, literally knowing who your fathers were, you know who everyone is. Meaning you know who the Chinese people are. You know who these Black Americans are. You know who the quote unquote whites are. You know who this group is and how this became that way. You have all this information. That's an extreme advantage you would have over the population. You have to understand that. Then he says underneath them is the Vatican. How much information is in the Vatican? And he basically called the Vatican a wicked organization. And they are. The Vatican is responsible for this. They had a hand. They're the spiritual overlords, basically, of this current system. Okay, if you don't know about things like dumb diverses, Google dumb diverses. Okay, and some of the things that the Vatican has done over time. So he says it's the 1,000-year-old families, then it's the Vatican. What did he say then? He said underneath them you have the financial systems, okay, which makes perfect sense. Underneath them comes the governments. So the governments are answering to the financial systems. And then under the governments, you have this idea of Hollywood or the media. Now, when I think about the media, I put it all together, not just movies, books, YouTube. The media is even your education system, ladies and gentlemen. That's media. These colleges, these high schools, these preschools, that's media. Okay, it all goes together. All right. So he's saying that's the power structure. Now, y'all can jump on here and agree or disagree, but tell me what y'all think about that. That's interesting to me that Ye says that. And it's not the first time he said it. He said it on InfoWars, and he said it on there was a, what do you call that thing? Clubhouse. He did a Clubhouse interview. Clubhouse is like some knockoff social media platform. And this is after he was getting canceled left and right off of everything. The only platform he could get was on this thing called Clubhouse. And he said it there too. But what do y'all think about that power structure? It makes sense. Okay.
Bankrupt you and pull all of the advertisement unless you bow to the Jewish people. And that's something that I'm just not willing to do. And then Ben Shapiro is running this narrative that I'm going to kill myself, right? And he's like, oh, due to his mental health, he's going to kill himself. That way, if they did attempt to kill me or killed me like they killed Michael Jackson or JFK, or Aaron, what is the guy's name? Aaron Carter, the guy who wanted to talk to me about the Harley Pasternak situation. If they did do that, they would say, oh, it's Ye's mental health. So it's like, how many times do I have to prove, or how many times do I have to do something like?
Bro, he's saying so much, man. Who they killed. Aaron Carter was he NSYNC or Backstreet Boys? I don't know. I'm not white, so I didn't, I don't know. I think Aaron Carter was NSYNC or Backstreet Boys' brother or somebody. I don't know, but that guy got killed. I think he said he jumped off his roof. They said he jumped off his balcony or something like that because he was drugged out or something like that. You know, did y'all remember the text that he got from his trainer? Y'all saw the text that Ye got from his trainer, Harley Pasternak. How threatening that was, and how no one said anything. No one in the quote unquote media, none of the law enforcement. Where was the medical association to come and take this therapist and take this guy's license? Where was all the outrage for that text he sent Ye saying he was going to drug him out of his mind? It's a crazy reality that we're currently living in right now. It's zombie land out here, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone's asleep. Everyone's asleep.
So miraculous for people to see that it's brilliance and it's not mental health. Like me wearing a mask gives me this ability to not have to worry about showing my face so I can think about what I'm saying and I can channel. When you load up a picture of Michael Jordan, he's smiling, he's jumping from the free throw line, he's got his shirt off. When you load up a picture of Phil Knight, you can't even see him. He's got his hat low.
And you're right, he did threaten Ye. He seems to be Mossad. I know he was with Canadian intelligence. What's that unit they got up there? The MK Ultra program and all that. They all these different units and all that good stuff. But he's still dealing with a lot of quote unquote celebrities. This Harley Pasternak guy. All right. And I try to warn quote unquote black people, especially, that a lot of these rappers and entertainers, man, they're so heavily influenced under drugs, under all kinds of mind control. They're going to speak destruction into your life. These people don't have the capability to speak life into anyone, these quote unquote entertainers. Look how quiet the entertainers have been the last, 4 or 5 years? Remember, you couldn't find a station or a channel where an entertainer wasn't telling you something about what you should be doing and who you should be voting for and this and that and the other. Now they're all silent. You know? And one thing I noticed about this whole thing, I'm gonna let it play here. Outside of Ye, and I don't count Candace Owens because she's a woman. I think Candace Owens does some interesting things as far as some of the things she's able to talk about, but she's a woman, right? Have you noticed that throughout all of this quote unquote debate and discussion about Israel's influence on America, the Jewish culture's influence on America, have you noticed that there's no quote unquote authentic Black American male voices in any of this? They'll let a Myron Gaines Somalian pirate refugee sit on a college campus and talk shit about Jewish influence on America before they let a guy like me do it. And there's a reason that is. They don't want the Black American to be involved in this conversation, because if the Black American gets involved and the Black American gets a platform, he's going to move the crowd. You better believe that. They had to shut Ye up, and Ye's not done. Kyrie Irving posts a link. They go batshit crazy. But they'll let a guy like Hassan Piker, some Turk anchor baby, run his mouth all day. Look at all the voices. You think that's just some happenstance? Where's the Black American male voice in this? Oh, they give you an Officer Tatum, some dumbass, hillbilly ass, ex-cop boo-boo. But a guy like me, and I'm credentialed up. I'm a 20-year military veteran, Army veteran, former first sergeant, professional person. I could speak to these people. They would never let me do that because I moved this bitch. See, they understand how this thing goes. They do not want the Black American involved in this conversation, guys. I'm telling you. And that's not a mistake. And if you think I'm lying, I'm gonna say this and then we'll move forward. Why do you think they waited till Barack Obama got in office for them to pass the gay marriage rights and all that stuff? Of all the presidents, they picked the one that had the quote unquote most Black support to push that particular agenda, because they knew if they had the quote unquote Black American behind it, it would go. So what they do is turn Black Americans on and turn us off. Turn us on, turn us off. But everything they're turning us on to is for destruction. But when it comes to a righteous cause, they turn us off. And I'm going to tell my white friends who I love, this thing not going nowhere without Black people leading it. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. Everyone's going to play a role, but it's not going to move. This world's not going to get better until Black Americans have that free voice. I'm not talking about no Black Lives Matter shit that's funded by them as well. None of this civil rights bullshit that was funded by them as well. I'm talking about a Ye type mindset. This thing's not moving without the Black Ye mindset leading it, involved in it. And that's why ever since Ye's been quiet, this shit ain't been moving. What's been going on? I love Nick Fuentes, but he doesn't have that gravitas. He don't have the spirit to move, you guys. That's Black people's superpower, is influence. And right now, they're using our influence for negativity. But if our influence gets switched over to the positive, where we're pushing righteousness, love, peace, it's over for these people. And they know it. That's why you got Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson.
You know, he's jogging 10 steps ahead of his wife. I've actually seen him do this before. When I saw that in real life, I was like, oh, that explains my issue with Nike. And then then Phil Knight goes and supports a conservative Republican on purpose as a, how do you say FU in Christian? As a,
Screw up?
As a slight to Nike,
No.
right? And then he goes and says, he comes back to say, oh, Kyrie, you took it far. Shut the hell up, Phil Knight. Nobody cares. No one's exploited the culture.
And that's a good point you made there, brother. Ye's on a different level, right? And see, this is what I tell white people, and I don't know if you're white or black, but I tell white people, and I hope y'all understand that we all living under the same lie. They gassed y'all white people up the same way they gassed black people up. We're all living under the same lie. Okay? And I would ask my quote unquote white brothers, where's your yay? Where's your yay level influence, yay level courage, yay level truth speaker? Where's he at? Who is it? Is it Elon Musk, the African? Is it Tucker? Where's your yay? Where's your yay, white America? You don't have one. God is showing y'all things and showing us things through this particular situation we're in right now. So when I hear white people bagging on blacks, especially ones that are in this political arena, I would ask them, where's your fucking yay, yo? And I'm not here to hate. We love everyone. But we got to be able to work together and see things for what they are. Okay?
More than Phil Knight and Nike. Nike is not even a progressive, prosperous organization anymore. Nike is what is the opposite of prosperity? Disparity. This is a disparaging organization. Nike is used to gerrymander because black people like Nike. So Nike writes BLM on the side. Nike gets LeBron to say whatever he's paid to say, right? In order to control the black votes and to keep the black votes inside of a 90% net that we vote as a block. And we're so used to the pain. You start with the sugar, then you take the fathers out the home, then you put the sex trafficking strip clubs, then you put the alcohol, the Hennessy, all in that. And then if you have someone, you say, look, over here, you're not going to get any of that, but you're going to get freedom and prosperity. No one knows what that tastes like. People know what pain tastes like. They know what the Hennessy tastes like. They know what not having a dad there tastes like. They know what mom having in the DR, moms, people have to go into prostitution a lot of times. So they know what that tastes like. So people, the devil they trust the devil they know versus the one that they don't know. And right now you got a thing where.
That was a bar. And that's going to be the thing, a sticking point for a lot of people where they might not make it through this thing. And I pray to God that he, gives me the wisdom to see clearly, but people love the devil that they know. This is all people know is pain. All of us. Just the idea of a better world turns people off because they're so conditioned and been beat down so much to believe that it's not even possible. They can't fathom a world where we're all living peacefully. There's enough resources for everyone. This whole idea of there's not enough water or there's not enough land, these are all fake constructs. So this whole loving the devil that you know, that's a bar right there, what Ye said. You know? This rigged ass system. And it's all on us. At the end of the day, it's on us, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? And some people might say, well, why don't you just go out there and do it yourself? You can't, because we need each other. We need each other. There's no solo act in this thing, bro. We all need each other. So that's why we need guys like Ye to be a light, you know, Nick Fuentes to be a light, whoever, right? To lead the sheep.
For me, as a black man that was separated from my dad, and my mom was a liberal, and she went to a state school called Chicago State, and they gave her a job there, and put us on the south side of Chicago on 79th Street.
Facts. We're all on the
My
bottom
experience, right, has brought me to be the richest, you know, black man of all time, a multi-billionaire. And the people at Adidas, they wouldn't even take meetings with me, and I was 68% of their online sales and brought Adidas back. And then when I was in the Kardashian family, I had no say-so on where we had Christmas. There was only one time that I even got to design the Christmas party. Or when I had the meeting with Trump, it was all about how I could help him with the black vote. So I see as a black person, you know, we could talk about race. Yeah, race, the whole world's racist, we get it. But it's more that black is looked at as like a vehicle. It's like a Mercedes-Benz. It's like if someone has a bunch of cars, this is the way politics works. It's like someone has an SUV. Well, that's the 70% white America. That's my family car, right? But then they got this motorcycle over here that maybe they need to ride on the weekends. That's the black vote. And nobody better steal their motorcycle. Oh, Ye's wearing a red hat. He's trying to steal our motorcycle. We need to keep our motorcycle right here in this one place in case I want to drive the black vote into wherever we want to drive it. And I have this cousin, like a lot of people in my family, and this is the reason why I don't ever show up to no family reunions. A lot of people in my family are like cops. They're literally police agents, went to war and all this stuff. So my dad is always trying to put me on the phone with cousins and family members I never heard of. And right when they get to texting a lot of stuff, I'm like, look at this woke dude. And I tell him I put the woke to sleep. We can save all that woke conversation from me, because that woke conversation is just rehashing black misery and complaints with no solutions. You know, we're inventors here.
You know who highlights a lot of that? Who gets a bad rap? Jesse Lee Peterson. Now, I'm not saying everything Jesse Lee Peterson says is 1,000, but I say he's about 99% on it. But he's very good at highlighting this idea of woke. How we've been programmed to just, and you see it with white people too, when he talks to them. We've been programmed just to yap about nothing, about dumb shit, pain, and do nothing about it. Do nothing about it. You know, I can watch people go on, you know, Jesse Lee Peterson's show or CNN, Fox, wherever, right? And they'll say white supremacy 900 times in an interview. White supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy. No cancellation, no bank account get taken, none of that shit. They invite you on next week to come say it some more. But as soon as that man said Jewish, they went insane. If that's not if people can't see that, I don't know what to do.
I gave a bit of the perspective right now, but what I'd like is, and what I praise God for, is we are beings with engineering opportunities. There's a lot of culture that we got to just clean that out. We got to say, okay, for a fact, there's a collusion of Jewish attorneys, managers, and everything else you can think of, that they don't abort their children. They only marry within their tribe, right? And then they'll give America porn, not just black people, but poor white people and Mexican people.
I hear you, bro. Make sure you visit me again, though. Appreciate that. Go watch Nick. I'm gonna be over here, though. They
use porn in wars. It's like gas. We want to talk about gas chambers. This is the gas chamber. It's a silent killer, and it's legal, and they put it on every single block, and they use my ex-wife to sell it, and they also want to dumb us down. Look, let me let some of these.
Last month, I told y'all about this phone trick that's paying off people's debt.
Go ahead, I'm gonna put my hand back on the Bible.
Jews suffer from porn the same way everyone else does. The idea that they are controlling everything and then saying, I'm going to use it to sabotage the white man. You look at Jew birth rates, for example. That sounds terrible. But you look at like Orthodox, Hasidic, and secular atheist types. They're not having any kids either. So this whole idea that they're like Jews will not replace us, Jews are wiping us out. These elitist Jewish people are wiping themselves out. They're the victims of the same porn. So my point is that if you look at real Jews, Orthodox and more
drug
traditional,
dealers get addicted to crack too.
right, but the idea that they're over here going, they're over here like pulling it down with the rest of the elite globalists. They're all destroying Western culture.
That's Satan. And the main issue for any religion is that Christ is king. Christ is the true king of Israel. Christ is the king of all kings. If you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you are wrong. And anyone that doesn't believe in Jesus Christ should not be in control or any influence to anything that America produces, be it media, technology, politics, farming, medicine, prisons. If you do not believe in Christ and you're not following Christ in the decisions that you make, you should have no influence on that.
Is McGinnis supposed to be the example of a high IQ person? Because he says some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard. His whole world view and how he views the world is dumb. So if this is an example of a high IQ white man, whew, I can see why we're at right now.
Well, that's going to be a tough thing to institute. So you're president of the United States. The Hitler thing does not hurt your campaign. First day
it helps my campaign.
Okay, it helps your campaign. Yeah. You're in office. It's day one, and someone walks in and they go, so what are we going to do about these Jews? What do you say?
What do you mean do about them? What do you
well, is there any action involved? Like they're overly represented in lots of people who don't believe in Christ. I would probably wager that in your average hospital in New York, maybe a third or less believe in Christ. So are you suggesting we get rid of 2/3 of the doctors?
Not get rid of, like not violently get rid of them.
Fire them?
I think that Jews are very intelligent, but they don't deserve to be in charge of everything because they don't put Christ in.
But how do you legislate that?
And see, that's what I think a good idea is. They need to be led. They need to be led. They need guidance. They need to be saved.
They need to work for Christians. Jews should work for Christians. I'll hire a Jewish person in a second. If I knew they weren't a spy and I could look through their phone and follow them to their house and have a camera all in their living room.
It just, my problem with anti-Semitism is it feels like a mental rut where, as Jared Taylor says, if it rains on your birthday, you blame it on the Jews. And it stifles creativity. We have to spread out the blame. And I think the blame should be spread to modern liberal elites.
I'm trying to let Nick get a bar off or two before I end this stream. I might do part 2 tomorrow night. So I'm trying to let Nick get a little bit of action or a little bit of let him speak a little bit about something and see what he has to say before we get off here tonight. We'll probably do part 2 tomorrow.
The Jews stifle my creativity, I tell you that. I've sat and slept at David Simon's ranch in Canada. Slept at, David Simon's house at Jamie Salter's ranch. I, signed my name next to the Gap. I've done a lot of things where I would say, hey, I can sell stores. I have like all the best intentions, right? Let me sell affordable clothing to college kids, the way I was able to sell affordable music to college kids and to high school. And I remember not being able to afford the best design when I was young, and I had this dream and this vision of doing this. And when I got to Gap and when I got to these other companies, they would come and call me and say, we got an idea. We'll open up one store for you in Atlanta. And they felt like they had the right to call me, King Ye, on FaceTime and deliver this dumb, stupid Jewish idea to me. And I was sick of it. I was like, you know what? DEFCON 3, I'm sick of it. Everybody shut up with your stupid ideas. And it's like with the stupid malls, with all of the things that are in foods, the way they put the country, it's like, bro, I love Jewish people. I love all people. I love people who like have canceled my accounts, all that. But they should not be the people in charge, is what I'm saying. They've had their run.
Wow. I think CEOs of corporations are overpaid. You know, you have these workers making $25 an hour, and then you find out the CEO of the company's making $500 million a year. That's a bad thing. But if you try to legislate that and change it, you're going to make it worse. What are you going to do? Start regulating the salaries of certain CEOs? They'll just go to another country, or they'll go to another business, or they'll go to another system. So, though there are some problems that you see ahead of you, when you try to get the government to fix them, you're just going to make it far worse. Say you went into the media and said, we need to cut down the amount of Jewish people in the media. That's going to be absolute catastrophe.
Yeah, there would be no media, right?
See, Gavin Mcinnes has such a bottom feeder mind. He thinks so in the box. Dude, the solution is we just don't participate. There's it's a spiritual exodus, a physical exodus. These companies don't have the right to exist. The United States government does not have the right to exist. There is no, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to participate.
Immediately no media.
But don't you think Jews have helped you get rich?
And where's that money today?
Well, it's frozen, I guess.
Yeah, as soon as I didn't play by what they wanted to use my black voice for, they froze everything in front of everyone. They took the IP, they smear me every day, and I feel freer because of it. I'm far happier, and you know, I'm just in love with life. It's as soon as I signed that record label, I was already hopping on that Jewish slave ship. And now
I would argue you wouldn't have hip hop without Jews.
And look at hip hop. You like hip hop?
Not anymore.
Why don't you like it anymore?
Well, where I live in New York, it's all about drill rap, and it's just people saying, I'm going to kill you because you're from a different project, and then they go over and kill the guy. And it's not drug wars, it's not turf wars, it's just 4 project houses in the South Bronx yelling about how they're going to kill each other and then carrying out that killing.
Yeah.
It's not very glamorous to me.
I'm not into killing. God said, you know, thou should not kill. That's it. We should not kill, period. That's it. That's the thing about when people see my tweet, they're like, did he kill anyone? Yeah, I believe that certain messages were pushed by the CIA and Jewish people and accepted by Jewish people in the music for money that have destroyed.
You know, and Gavin makes a, thing about the hip hop, man. Listen, man. Listen, let me give you a quick little understanding, okay? We could take it back to the biblical narrative of Adam and Eve. When the serpent beguiled Eve, and then Eve beguiled Adam, they were rewarded for that. Satan, or the serpent, rewarded them for that action. Remember, it says that they tasted the fruit and it was good. So if the guy comes at you with a bag of money saying, oh, I like how you rap, keep rapping about killing other people, here's 500 grand, they're gonna do it. It's about influence, Gavin Mcinnes. But if nobody was paying these guys money to make songs like that, they probably wouldn't do it. Now, am I saying that these guys aren't, able to make their own decisions, and should they be biting off that apple and whatever the hell you want to call it, and eating the forbidden fruit and taking the money and selling out? No, we need to get to a place where they're not doing it. But keep in mind that they're being incentivized to do that, guys. Every action that we're being pushed to, it's negative, and then there's a reward. We could talk about that in every aspect. We could talk about abortion. Why do these women get abortions a lot of times? Oh, I'm in college. I'm only a sophomore in college. I can't have a baby right now. So I have an abortion so that I can be rewarded with the degree. It's all the same game. Everyone's getting played. Gavin Mcinnes is dumb as shit.
Destroyed our communities and destroyed our consciousness. But we're going to survive as a humanity. Right now, we're being beat into unconsciousness. But we are intelligent people. And there's intelligent Jews, but Jews aren't the only intelligent people. Jews aren't the only inventors. I mean, Hitler was an inventor, for Christ's sake. Hitler was a Christian inventor. And I just like saying stuff like that. Doesn't it it just sits in such a good place?
Yeah.
They never taught us that Hitler them was Christians. What y'all think about that? And I've done some looking into that, a lot of looking into it actually. It's interesting that from my understanding, these were some serious Christians over there in Germany.
It's got some assonance to it. But yeah, I don't think Jews are that well known for inventing. That tends to be more of a Scottish thing. But they managed to harness the power of those parties in the Bronx in the 80s and take hip hop from a pile of rubble into probably the most popular form of music in the world, or definitely in the West. And I don't know.
There's some things, Jewish people have done some good things, and they've done some bad things. And I'm pointing out the things that need to change. But they don't want to have that conversation about change. They rather try to whip me in public to make sure no one else will have that conversation. And since we won't have it, since y'all didn't want to have the conversation with me in private, I guess we got to take it outside then, huh?
Hit that like button for a brother, all right? Y'all know my channel is heavenly. I like that, heavenly, but it's heavily scrutinized. All right, so hit that like button for a brother. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you comment if you want to comment. Let's go.
So now we having a conversation outside, baby.
I guess my argument, I'll drop it after this, but I guess my argument is the trait that you're talking about, I call it ethnomasochism, where you just hate yourself, is a genetic white thing. And I think it's wrong to blame on the Jews. Jews are overrepresented in it because they have high IQs. Now, here's one piece of proof. Scotland. Scotland is the most woke country in the world. It hates itself. They have open border policies for refugees. The most PC judges, the most woke DAs. It's like Berkeley and Portland times 1,000. That's not a Jew thing. That was whites.
Last month, I told y'all about this phone trick that's paying off
and so much.
You know, I watched this one video of a rabbi. He was discussing some things about Ye. It was on a network called JTV. And the guy asked the rabbi a question, and I'm going to paraphrase, but the rabbi basically said, in so many words, he said this. He said that non-Jewish people, is how he phrased it, their idea was to try to bring man closer to, like, up to God. But Jewish people's role was to bring God down to earth or to man. What do y'all think about that framing? To bring God down, or should we be looking up to God to try to reach a godly level as men, or should we be trying to bring God down to us? He said that. And I would review that video, but I'm concerned about the copyright and this, that, and the third, because I'm highly critical of rabbis, culture, and rabbi mindsets. But what do y'all think about that mindset? He literally said that, and they sat back like he was speaking some genius level of understanding. I don't like how that sounds. You trying to bring God down? And Nick's cooking here. Gavin Mcinnes looks like a moron in this interview. Moron.
Up on Judaism.
Jews don't see it that way. Jews think that there are Jews that follow the law and there are Jews that don't follow the law, but they all see each other as family. Even the ZOA, the Zionist Organization of America, they recently criticized the ADL and said, hey, you're anti-white.
The power of those parties in the Bronx in the 80s and take hip hop from a pile of rubble into probably the most popular form of music in the world, or definitely in the West. And I don't know.
There's some things Jewish people have done. I guess we got to take it outside.
For refugees,
I was a kid about murder or discrimination or prejudice, but there is something compelling about pride in your people and these kinds of things. And by the way, who are the architects of leftism? People always point the finger at cultural Marxism. Cultural Marxists got kicked out of Germany by Hitler because they were Jewish leftists. And
atheists too. Like Marx, Soros's dad, they were all atheists. I think when you look into this sabotage, you're going to see a disproportionate number of people who don't believe in God.
Well, but there's something about Judaism too, though, that it's not just that they don't believe in God, but they don't believe in Jesus Christ. And I think that so much of our atheist society is really a product of Judaism. They're really kind of like the first atheists. Karl Marx was Jewish, and so much of what happened in the 18th, 19th, 20th century was driven by Jews.
But Jews, I don't think you can be a Jew if you don't believe in God.
Well, ethnically, they are Jewish. That's how they define themselves, by bloodline, right?
Yeah, but as soon as you give up believing in God, you give up on Judaism.
Jews don't see it that way. Jews think that there are Jews that follow the law and there are Jews that don't follow the law, but they all...
See, that's another bull crap. Oh, if a Jewish person doesn't believe in Judaism, they're not Jewish. Yes, they are, dude. It's by the mother. They have a matrilineal lineage. It has nothing to do about your understanding of what God is. That's like saying a Chinese person is not Chinese if he's not a Hindu or some kind of Buddhist or something like that. That's just the dumbest correlation that you could ever. It's just stupid.
See each other as family. Even the ZOA, the Zionist Organization of America, they recently criticized the ADL and said, hey, your anti-white propaganda is blowing back too much on Jewish people. They said, stop pushing anti-white because people are confused and they think you mean Jews.
Orthodox Jews deeply resent secular Jews, and they say, you guys are ruining our name. That Ron Coleman says the head of the teachers union is the worst person in the world and has done the most damage to America. Orthodox Jews hate liberal secular Jews.
I think that they hate what they're pushing, but I think they all see each other as basically family. And regardless of whether they're secular or religious, I think what Ye's getting at, which is salient, is let's say you're right and atheists aren't really Jews and there are religious Jews. Either way, they don't believe in Jesus. And what's the consequence of having, like you acknowledged, a media and Hollywood in particular, an entertainment industry, communication industry run by people that don't believe in Christ? And not just like our arbitrary religion, but Jesus is the only way to God. Jesus is God. He's the light, the truth, and the way. Mercy, compassion, love, selflessness, these are all Christian virtues. These are all Christian beliefs. What happens when you have a media that atheist, religious, Jewish, doesn't practice those things? They tend to create pornography. Mind Geek, OnlyFans, owned by Jews. I don't think that's a coincidence. Catholics would never start businesses like that. Catholics would never, they would never run TMZ. They would never run.
Well, religious people wouldn't. Muslims would never start something like that. They don't believe in Christ. It's religious people versus atheists. And I agree with you that you have to revere Christ to be in the West. But I think the idea of everyone in America believing in Jesus Christ is a pipe dream. That's never going to happen. But that
doesn't mean that Jesus isn't king. Just because you don't believe in Jesus doesn't mean Jesus still believes in you. Even if you don't believe in Jesus, Jesus still believes in you.
Yes. But in Death of the West, Buchanan seems to say, you have to at least respect Christ. Like, say you move to Japan. The three of us moved to Japan. We wouldn't be screaming about the Japanese and so many Japanese signs. And we're not Japanese, but we would definitely revere Japan.
All right. I'm going to let it go. Interesting interview. Maybe I'll pick it up the rest of it tomorrow. I've also been reacting to an old Montel Williams episode that aired back in the 90s, I believe. There was a guy named, what's his name? Cole Stein. I can't think of his first name right now. And Mark Webber, I believe. And they were debating or just talking about revisionists, World War II revisionists. I'll leave it at that. And I reacted to like the first maybe 20 minutes of that episode. So maybe I'll pick up on part 2 of this tomorrow, and then part 2 of that, and then call it a night. That's tomorrow. So hey, all those who chimed in, I definitely appreciate it. Feel free to leave your comments if you watched the rewatch. I do apologize for that moment there where I think I had the audio turned off for the actual video while I was playing. But yeah, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe, comment below, and just to kind of give everyone a understanding, this is not a hateful channel. Okay, I love every soul created. All right, you got to walk in love. All right, if the people that hate you, and if you hate them, then you're no different. That's the secret sauce. Okay, and love doesn't feel like anything. It doesn't smell like anything. It doesn't taste like anything. It just is. It's a way of life, and it just means that you're able to look at things through a lens of good and bad, no matter what it is, who it is, how tall it is, how short it is, what color it is. You look at things from a very binary level, and that's the love of God. The Bible says that it rains on the just and unjust. All right? So, hey, with that being said, I appreciate the interaction, and I will see you next time. I'm out.